Good morning, afternoon, evening, good night, whatever it may be for you. This is day 3 of week 8 here at LAMDA MFA Classical Acting Program. It was November the 5th, 2025. And so Wednesdays we have 6 classes. We're there from 9 a.m. sharp to 6:30 p.m. And I finished my second journal today, or yesterday. Started my third. So, big day. So let's start off with acting through song. We had a new student, someone from our group, from one of the different groups, like A, B, and C. We had somebody join us, which was exciting, and I think he's going to be with us for the rest of the time. So that's fun to shake it up a little bit and experience some change and some new people. I think it's because our group is the best, and so we don't know why exactly, and he doesn't want to talk about it, which is totally fine, but he got put in the best group, so that's cool. So what we did when we started the class is Johnny, during our little warm-up, wrote down the name of a bunch of different composers, and then we picked one out of a pile. And then our next song is going to be based on that composer. And so I drew Styles and Drew, who wrote Mary Poppins and Hark. And I don't know Honk, not Hark. Honk. A little tired. Honk is all about it's like a musical version of The Ugly Duckling. It won the Olivia Award here in London, like in 2008 or 1 or something. I don't remember. Pre-2010. And yeah, it was great. And so Johnny gave me some suggestions, and it was good. And then somebody went up, and they sang Moments in the Woods, and it was so good. Such great choices and comedy and just commitment. And there's a sweet part to it. It had the levels. I cried. I'm just an emotional person. But I don't know what part it was. It was like, but if life were only moments. Na, 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 na. I don't know if it's that part, but it's one of those softer parts. And I was just like, oh, that's beautiful. It's the longing for life. Sorry, I have this little pimple on my eye, like right here on the watermark. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's irritating me. Some of Johnny's notes were to lean into the comedy even more, but know exactly where your beats and choices are, because it needs to be able to be replicated, right? If you're going to perform this, it needs to be bump, bump, bump. So clean it up, spruce it up, drive it home. But at the same time, even though you're going over the top and you're going big, don't lose the truth in the comedy. Then another person went and sang Not a Day Goes By for Merrily We Roll Along. Not a day goes by, not a single day. And the advice was to like move through the line to the moment, right? And there's these list of things, and so use the and drive it home, build it. I don't know the song super well, but it's like that list, and this and that and this and that, and build that up. Then I went and I sang a bit of earth. She wants a little bit of earth. She'll plant some seeds. The seeds will grow. The flowers bloom, but is their bounty what she needs? She needs a chance to love a little bit of earth. Does she not know the earth is old and doesn't care if one small girl wants things to grow? Da-da-da-da. That's funny because that's the part of the song I didn't sing. I sang all the rest of it. She needs a friend. All the way to a bit of earth, a bit of That was fun. Yeah, and so the first time I went to it, uh, my rhythm was a little off, and it was hard because I've been practicing with someone singing, and and Manny Patinkin sang the original, and he is very um, free with the rhythm, and he works with the accompanist and composer, I'm sure, to come up with his own variations. And so I didn't know how it was like originally written super well. But I got to a practice room right before, and I practiced a little bit, so that was fine. Yeah, and so Paul told me to don't be indulgent, don't um, don't just be a bit too like got across why can't she ask for a treasure? Oh, freeze! It was on freeze that he mentioned. But just like on these lines, and and then in fall the bit of earth will freeze and kill them all. Right, all is the important part, and I emphasized, or I was too indulgent on them. Them all. But I need to drive home. And just kind of ideas like that. And then Johnny had mentioned some diction things, how I, for sake of emotion or whatever, I lose it, right? So he said, "What is this song about?" Separated from the show, like if it's just an individual song, what's it about? And I said it's about a man who wants to love someone or take care of someone or do something for someone, like wants to love someone, but is guarded and can't open up, and what they really need is his love. And yeah, something like that. And he said that's the best note I could have given you. That's the best advice or help. And so then I did it again, and he said, "Oh, and you just had a baby, so just think about that." And I was like, "We'll see if I can get through it." Shout out Sandwich. Because I'm an emotional person, and so it's easy for me to cry because I'm always on the brink of tears. And so I didn't want to just lean into that entirely. But I did it again, and of course I was holding back the tears, and then they fell, and it was emotional, and it was clearer, and he said there was a shift in me when I made that decision, and it was good, and he gave me a hug afterwards, and it was a good experience. I liked it a lot. Then someone else went and freaking killed it. She sang the music that makes me dance from Funny Girl, belted her face off. And then afterwards, like, well, no notes. Just kidding. But it said, don't be afraid to do less, right? You don't have to move around and stuff. Sometimes your voice is enough. Look at this hair. Where are you, hair? What are you doing? And that's why I'm going bald. Just kidding. I take pills for that. Yeah. And so then I need to print off my my list of songs for homework and work on Now I've Seen You was Johnny's suggestion. He just sent me some versions on Instagram of him singing it, so that's great. Yeah. Then we had Combat. Okay. I think I have this down. My trusty wooden spoon. Let's see if I can fairly demonstrate what we learned. Okay. So first we learned the volte and the semi-volte. I think that's what it was pronounced. So with the volte, right? Can you even see this? I think you can. Okay. So what you do is you block, and then you strike, but you have this Oh, I gotta stretch. Holy poop. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So you can block, and you do this backward lunge. So instead of a traditional lunge where my right knee's bent and the weight is there, I bring my left leg behind, and my right knee's still bent, I guess. But then I strike here, and I'm like, hua, ba, right? So instead of like just attacking traditionally, right? I blocked it, and I need to do this more. This is what Joe keeps doing. He brings his arm in for the whatchamacallit, the defensive da, and then lunges da ba da. It's got this kind of a thing. So instead of lunging and lunging, it's a defense lunge kind of a thing. And then the semi-volte is instead of coming back, you go up on your foot. So my left foot is going behind my right, and I have this little cross leg thing going. So it's, and then I could lunge into it. So that's the volte and the demi volte, I believe. And then we practiced our drill attacks on defensive feet. I don't know what that means yet. We did these. Oh, so it's a continued attack. So someone attacks. Let's say we're doing one first, right? So I'm attacking at their left hip. Attack. They block. Then as I come forward and reset my feet in preparation to lunge again, they attack my one or wherever, right? So maybe we'll do it here. So I've lunged, but then I need to defend on the on my retreat into on guard, right? So I'm here, then here, then there, then here, there. So I'm attacking and then I'm defending as I come up. And then the attacker who defends first, well, I'm going to want to go back, defends and then sinks for an attack. And then defends and sinks for attack. And they're continually going backwards, the person who's defending, but they're still getting an attack in every other time because they're sinking into the attack. And it doesn't have to be the full lunge, but it is the that sink idea, you know. So attack, defend, attack, defend. And we did that on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. We did that on all of our different things. And we switched sides and we drilled that. We tried it with all the combos. Then we learned something called a double something. Can't remember what it's called. And I couldn't write it down. But the blade normally has a cup, right? Which shields your hand. And so when you have struck, and this is hard to explain, but let's say their blade is here. You want to bring it to the cup, say my fingers are the cup, and have a 2-point connection. Blade and cup. 1, 2. So then you can do this kind of move. But my thing isn't very long. But that way you can go and kind of distract them. And the idea, you don't want to think of like doing big circular movements because that's a lot. Just think about dropping, raising, dropping, raising, dropping, raising. But always pushing them away from you. Boom. And it's the same way of how you would defend. So if it's to the right side, like say it's a 3, you go 3, and then you would go counterclockwise, right? If they're attacking my right, yes. If they're attacking my right, I would go counterclockwise. So if it's a 2, I can go counterclockwise because that's constantly keeping them away from me. If it was on my left side, a 2, a 1, actually 1 you can't really do it with, but let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, I'm going to go clockwise to go away from me, scoop them in and out away from me, bump, 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 which is clockwise. You can do it on 7. It's just to do it here is very difficult because you're like, oh, wow, wow, which is one of the reasons why the 7 was invented. And so then we tried that with our attacks. We did an attack, and then left like that. And yeah, my shoulder was hurting a lot. I don't know, I found the distance I had with my partner was a little hard. I don't know how we were doing, so I think I was overextending my shoulder a lot. And so my arm got tired, my shoulder specifically. And I'm like, it's not supposed to happen. So, but that was the gist of it. I gotta figure out the name of that double thing. But that was combat, 2 classes in. Cooking time with time. Look at us. So, yeah, I need to relax. Just let it happen. Next, we also did a warm-up with our... Wait. And the things that I've done before. Then we had history of music, and because we were worried about time and everything, we did a shorter warm-up. And so we did just a tummy work. Ha 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 ha. I don't actually know. It's hard to write like music in notes. But it's ha 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 ha, something like that. Ha 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 ha. So you go ha 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 ha. You do that 4 times and then ha 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 ha. But really get the ha and then stomach go ba ba. Then we did a 5-part round of do you yearn to ever wander? Oh wait, I took a picture of it. Let's see if I can remember or if I can sight read it a little bit. Do you yearn to ever wander? See the goodness lies so near. Learn to simply take your joy, for that joy is always here, always, always here. Do you yearn to ever wander? See that goodness lies so near. Learn to simply take your joy, for that joy is always, for that joy is always here, always, always here. Do you ever? Something like that. And the 5-part harmony was rough because the rhythm was a little funky, but we did it. And then we worked on Hush. Once again, just took some time. But that one was fun. That's the one we started last week. Which is like, it's about singing to Tanya to sleep and hush, no more. Hush, no more. Hush, no more. Be silent, be silent, be silent all. Sweet repose, sweet repose, sweet repose has... Something. Anyway, it's hard to do without the music of my peoples. But then we went back to Fine Knacks for Ladies, which has been a minute, and we tried to do all verses too, and that was rough because I don't know the music well enough to look at the lyrics, and I don't know the lyrics well enough to look at the music. So, Fine Knacks for Ladies, cheap choice, brave and new, good pennyworth, but money cannot move. I keep a fair, but fair for the fair to view. A beggar may be liberal of love, though all my... Where's something? Anyway, we worked on that one too. And then we got a Carol of the Bells. We did Fine Knacks for Ladies at the end, but we received Carol of the Bells and we recorded our parts on that one. We may not be doing the winter concert though, because there might be a fire hazard issue with all the people there, but it's like the one thing we all do together, so we don't know. They sent out an email that it was like going to be an audition cabaret kind of thing. I don't know, but it was lovely, and that was historic music, artistic development. Boom, 20 minutes. Artistic development wasn't with Ollie this week. We actually were with Valerie Kanekalukas, who is our thesis tutor. And so we just talked about how to cite and some ideas about brainstorming for our thesis. And I'm super excited about mine. And I don't know if I want to tell you guys yet, because it's a good idea. Not that anybody's listening. Except for you, Emma. And maybe Brinkley. But, so it's just like, when do you cite people and why do you cite people? Part of it is to give them accreditation. To credit them with, oh, they did this first, right? Or this is their intellectual property or their ideas, so we need to give them credit for it. And also to back up you is like, I think this is true, but so do these experts, right? We did a little worksheet on it where we were given some examples. It's like, oh, do you cite them there? Yes, we do. And that was very much like a traditional class. It was kind of funny. And LAMDA uses the Harvard referencing system. I learned MLA in high school, and I was told I would be using it in college, and I might have used it at BYU, Idaho. I'm not sure, but I am not using it now. But it seems pretty similar. So then we got our rules in this little list. So that was good. I'm just gonna read my notes on that one. We learned about citing sources for our theses. And she said something super important, is find a way to organize all the material for my thesis. I started a journal. Sorry, Jess, but my voice journal is now my thesis journal. And I have some ideas. But But yeah, because as you're doing this research, it sucks if you do this research and then you don't write it down well, or you just write something poor, because then you'll have to do the research again. So organize your thoughts and keep everything in one place. And then we use a Harvard standard citing. Proposal for thesis needs to demonstrate some level of research and accreditation. There is an online reference generator called Cite This For Me, which is free and should be easy to use. There's a you can have a bibliography, which is for research sources that weren't directly used, but it's like, this influenced me. Here's some other reading and things that helped me get to my ideas. And then a reference list of specific citations that you used. Paperwork of when you need to be cited. We got into groups and we did the questions. And then the in-text format for Harvard is name, date, colon, page number. If there's two authors, it's both of their last names. If it's three authors or more, it's the first name, the first person's last name, and then et al., date and page. But yeah, we can email Valerie for any more information. All research should be related to a question, right? What is your question? Use questions and it will help guide your search. And read with a purpose. Our theses are about discovering something new. Be curious about all things. Allow your ideas to develop and evolve, right? Sometimes you come in with one idea, and if you're too stuck on that idea, you're going to miss out on something more interesting and not going to let your ideas naturally progress. Start with a topic, right? Such as Golden Age musicals. And that might lead you to a research question, and that should lead you to a research question, and that will guide you in the design for your thesis, right? Think about, what is your angle? Relevance of past events, practices, and practitioners to contemporary issues, ideas like that. Like, how are you going to approach this topic? Then I wrote down my idea. Don't be afraid of practical-based research, like experiencing things or watching things. Then we had 2 brainstorming ideas, a concept mapping, a quick Q&A. Then I had another idea, which I don't think I'm going to use, but it's just like educational application. Like, how do you teach basic things to an actor? How do you help someone be good? Right? That's something else that fascinates me. Then a great book we should learn, because we applied stage combat as a topic we were playing with, and William Hobbs on stage combat has a great book. So then we want to, after we have our general idea, to narrow and to clarify, right? General, narrow, specific. That's what we're looking for. Then the thesis is a performance. There's no real written portion. We just have to cite our sources and say, hey, this is. It's not a write-up. Like, you can write a script and then quote people in the scripts, and you need to reference them appropriately. But this whole process is exactly that. It's a process, right? So allow it to do that. The proposal is due February 9th, and it is performed in July. Yeah, so the first, you just want a topic and a subject, and it's very broad. And then your research question and specific aspect to investigate. Make it fun. Enjoy it. The process and the performance. The performance is just 20 minutes. So a few things to kind of keep in mind is, 1, define your investigation, set your boundaries, provide direction, research and think, right? Thought, and fit the limits of the assignment, right? The greatest scientific achievements were accomplished in groups, and it was a group effort. So, like, work with people and talk to people. I talked to my mom for like 2 hours about it yesterday. So, excited. And then we had movement. Oh, I skipped lunch. We had lunch after historic music. I ate my lunch. Then we had movement with Kristen. And we were focusing on turning. We circled up and she's like, we're going to talk about turning. And we stood with our feet planted on both sides and turned. So just like that. I'll show you. I know you're curious. Ugh. Feet planted. Whoa, I'm falling. Turned over. All right, let me try to bring awareness to that. Like, how does our weight shift? Where do our feet? What do our feet do? How do our knees work and everything? And then we paired up and observed each other's turn and noticed if one person got like taller on a turn and just shorter on another one. And no one really did it really well. Some people got shorter, but no one was really getting taller. And the idea was that we kind of favor the weight on one side. So which one do we naturally favor? Because if we're going into the weighted, the supported leg, then that'll make us a little taller. And if we're going away from it, that'll make us a little shorter. And my supported leg is my left, which was interesting. But I didn't get taller. I got a little shorter. Turning right. I also had this like crick in my neck. I think it's from the way I sleep or something, or stress. What do I have to be stressed about? So it was harder and more strenuous to turn to the right. But yeah, then we gave each other prompts about a reason to turn. Like, oh, you heard a loud ka-thunk. Or there's a tiger behind you. Or you feel someone's watching you. You smell cookies. All those different reasons of why to turn. Yeah. Then we sat in this interesting way. I'll show you again. You got to get on the ground for this one. Right, like over here. So we sat with our knees to the right and our feet to the left. You see? No. It was like this. It's kind of hard to see, but so we stood up with our right hand supporting us. You see how that foot's going. So both knees are to the right. Our right hand was supporting us. We turned. And we felt how that like affected us. And then we lifted our left hand at eye level and followed it. But we noticed our left hip move. And we did a bunch of different things. Like try looking to the left while you turn right. Try moving this and turning that way, or going this way, or keeping your eyes like opposite your hand. Like look forward at a wall, but move your head with your hand. And just kind of bring observation to that. And we took lots of breaks in the middle, and we didn't do the other side. And we were kind of breaking a lot of regular rules, right? Kind of things that we do, right? We took lots of breaks. It wasn't no pain, no gain. And we didn't equal out the other side. And it was uncomfortable for me. Like my knee was not very flexible, so I felt that. And my ankle bone, like into the ground, was uncomfortable. And so we just kind of brought awareness to that and tried to elevate our body and just see how turning affects us, and how different things affect our turning. I don't think I'm good at self-observation, because I do something and then she asks, now do it again and see if you notice anything different. And I don't usually notice anything different. Like I do in the process when I consciously change. It's like, oh, I'm going to stretch a little further. But just of the natural change, I don't feel that a lot, you know? And that is journal number 2 complete. Journal number 3. I think we just have one more class. Voice to text. And we worked today on Pericles. Good old Pericles. Where is that? Richard, I need to pull that up because I gotta work on that actually. Where are you, Pericles? Haha. Pericles. And so I haven't worked in a while in George's class since before I left for Theo's birth. So I got it first, and something interesting about Pericles is Act 1 prologue is it's in tetrameter, which I'm supposed to look up why it's called tetrameter and not like quadrameter, because it's 4 feet. It's 8. It's 8 counts. To sing a song that old was sung. Ba-da da 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 da. Instead of ba-da da 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 da. Yeah, da 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 da. So it's da 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 da. And he asks why? Why is it that way? And it's because that was the old way to do it in like ancient Greece in the medieval time. Well, I don't know about ancient Greece, but medieval pattern was 8 beats instead of 10. And so Gower is this ancient creature and person, and so it's hearkening back to that. So to sing a song that old was sung, from ashes ancient Gower is come. Right? Assuming man's infirmities, to glad your ear and please your eyes. You know, and we all worked on it differently. And we established our quadrants, and then we did it. My neighbor's making noise. Anyway, so Pericles is referring to the medieval time period and meter, tetrameter, or tetrameter, both are acceptable. And the modern time starts with the Industrial Revolution. Then I gotta look up why it's tetrameter and not quadrameter. Because pentameter is 5, pentagram, right? But quadrilateral. I'm interested. So with time, we'll start to feel the iambic. We'll just start to feel it, right? And we'll be able to not have to mark everything down every time we do it. But that'll be like in a few years, kind of a thing. Unless there is something that trips us up or is interesting. We're like, what was that? You know? So we were told to work quadrants with full ideas, but never break up enjambments. So, for example, the first idea is to sing a song that old was sung, from ashes ancient Gower is come, assuming man's infirmities, to glad your eyes and to glad your ear and please your eyes. So that's the first thought. That's the first sentence, right? To a full stop or a period. So that I could deliver to one person. Or I could do it one by one. To sing a song that old was sung, from ashes ancient Gower is come, assuming man's infirmities, to glad your ears and please your eyes, right? And giving a different one each one. Something we were told was to find your person and then deliver the line. Don't just be like moving on it and settle on someone. To sing a song that old was sung, from ashes ancient Gower is come, right? You want to find someone and then adjust. Enjambments, right? Meaning that there's no punctuation at the end of the line. 1, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. The idea is that the breath you're taking, I get it more, because you want to hook the words together, is what George has said this whole time, the 2 lines, but it's to keep it as a singular idea. So don't think of like, the reason why you breathe into the next line is it's connected. I think I'm working this out still. For example, what I was thinking before is, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. Like, have read it for restoratives. But that pause is the problem, because then it's not hooked and it's disconnected. So instead, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. Something more like that. Karen's totally fine if we don't breathe. I think she'd actually prefer it. So, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. Something else he mentioned was tone, pitch, and intonation. Pitch and intonation. So to change the intonation, change the pitch on the second line. So, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. Something to differentiate it. So with that enjambed line, yeah, just like I said, you can change on an image, or you can change on the thought, right? So at the end of a line, or at the end of a full stop, a period. Or you can switch in between them, or do two for one and one for another, and a whole thought for a different one. But once you get really good at it, you can kind of play around with that and keep the audience engaged and figuring things out. And that's when I went up and worked on it. And I wish I'd gone later in the class, because later they had a lot of fun with it. The people who got up were trying very big and different things. To sing a song that old was sung. From ashes ancient Gower is come, assuming man's infirmities, to glad your eyes and to glad your ear and please your eyes. It hath been sung at festivals, on ember eves and holy ales, and lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restorative. Something like that. So that it was way more like this. I was so stuck, because that was the first one, so I was just like, I was worried more about quadrants than anything else. I was like, to sing a song that old was sung. From ashes ancient Gowers come. You know, I did not get to have much fun with it, but that's okay. Land on that person and stay with them. It's better to screw up a quadrant than it is to cheat on an audience member, right? When the next person went up, he, because we're not supposed to go quadrant, we're not supposed to go the dial of a clock, because then it's predictable, and this person will stop paying attention, because they're not going to pay attention to me till now. And so you're supposed to go quadrant 1, quadrant 3, quadrant 2, quadrant 5, something like that, or 2, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2 kind of a thing, to keep it mixed up. But if you mess up, especially when we perform these at the end of the term, it's better to mess up your quadrant than to cheat an audience member, come to the one and be like, oh, you're in the wrong quadrant. That's not good. Use the technique as a loose garment, not as a straitjacket. I like this, because it's to help engage the audience, right? Think of the purpose over the process, right? We're engaging the audience. That's the point. And then when the people who were up played with it, what happened to their third eye, the judgmental one that's like, oh, you aren't breathing right. You're not using your quadrants. You suck, right? But when you play with it and you have fun, then that third eye quiets and disappears. And so when some people would go up, George would go and say, can I take you to my office? Can I give you some direction? And they'd be like, yeah. So you go in the corner and tell them something, which we don't really totally know. But what it was context. And then this person was going after me. He was just so loathsome, or loathing. He was, to sing a song that old was sung. From ashes ancient Gowers come, assuming man's infirmities, to glad your ear and please your eyes. Something like that, And so we're like, oh, that's way more interesting. What is that? Ooh. It draws us in, instead of just to sing a song that old was sung. Then don't be afraid to go OTT, over the top. The language can bear it. The text can bear it. Show them yourself. Show them all what's What's going to give you, like, ask yourself, what's going to give you juice and diminish that third eye? I didn't write, haha. That is a question mark, not a period or a full stop. If you have a choice to over voice or under voice, right, vocalizing it, like, to over voice, I don't want to be too loud, to over voice or to under voice, right, always choose over voice. Then another person went and engaged vocally as, and we engaged vocally as an audience, right? We're not like statues. Doric statues, I think he said. Which I believe Doric is a form of pillar and is a thing, but we're not just like, but we were like, ooh, yeah, okay. We were engaging and giving him something to work off of more. And have fun, make choices, dare to be ridiculous. And keep those enjambed lines stitched together, right? You need to keep the idea as a whole. Release the sound, right? Don't under voice. This person, George, worked with them a lot. And then another person went up. And then they kind of started off seductressy. It's like, to sing a song that old was sung. From ashes ancient, Gower is come, assuming man's infirmity. And then it kind of developed into this witchy kind of sound. To glad your ear and please your eyes, kind of a thing. Which was fun and interesting because it moved and it changed and it developed. Context changes all the choices. And George, what he's done, besides giving context, is raise the stakes. And so we should do that ourselves, because then we can come to our director and be like, hey, I thought this. What do you think? Yeah. Then go big or go home. And then every time he would take someone back into his office, he would say, detectives. We'd say, detect. and then we were just trying to observe and figure out what they're doing differently. And then find as much pitch and intonation as justifiably possible. And then bring it down. No, before justify, just as possible. Just make as much bold choices and then bring it down and see where you find it. And you might have to go back up and you brought down too much. Don't point at audience members, because the energy that you're putting into your movement a lot of the time, one, it feels rude. But also that movement and that energy can be done with the voice. I can point with my voice instead of with my finger, because this kind of robs that energy or makes it feel like I don't have to use my voice as succinctly. And he said, don't point at the audience members, especially at the globe, because they're so close and interactive, and like they'll be like, what? Technicality is great and super important, but firstly, have fun with it. Explore it. You can worry about technicality, that's important, but if you're technically perfect and not enjoying it, not having fun and life in it, boring. The breath in an enjambed line should almost be undetectable, kind of like what I was talking before. When working your prologues, do it a million different ways and explore it and learn it and try it. Be bold. What are you taking away from today's class? That was a teaching question. What are you taking away at the end? Just like a reflection. And then get it out of your ears and in your body. Make big, bold choices, but don't dig your heels in, because then you can't be in the moment. So like if you go home and you're working on this, you're like, oh, I really like this emphasis in this kind of idea. And then you're in a scene with someone and they're giving you something totally different, or you receive something different from the audience. If you have dug your heels into this choice you've made, then it's so much harder to adapt and to change and to improve. So don't dig your heels in. Don't be too set in your ways. Be willing to kill your darlings. Work your reactions. It's never set and never sail. I don't know why I wrote that. Sail? It's never sail. That definitely says sail. Anyway, and then the last thing we kind of talked about is breaking the back of the rhyme scheme and the rhythm. After you know it and you understand the purpose of the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that was 10. Then you can say, like, this is the 4, but it hath been sung at festivals, on ember eves and holy ales. And lords and ladies in their lives have read it for restoratives. To purchase is to make men glorious, right? To play with that a little bit instead of to make one purchase. The purchase is to make men glorious. And that was it. That was my long Wednesday. And then I went to the library, printed some things out. Then I went home and talked. And now today I'm going to get a lot of work done. Anyway, love you guys. Enjoy your life.